with the profit stuff. But he doesn't come to meetings. No. But with the biggest challenge being, we got to come up with a big chunk of money, the town, in order for this to happen. All right, so, yeah, have we got Susan on here now?
Yeah, she's on.
Okay, we just can't see her.
Right.
Well, she's in that tent.
I don't want to lose her, so.
I can see all of you, and good evening, everybody. And I'm going to need the ability for share screen.
That's what Don's working on now.
Wonderful. I love your discussion. So I know that you had applied for this last round of grants with MCA. Is the plan to apply again at another round?
There's no other round.
We've got a couple of other things between the county and Fidium that may or may not pan out. And then we've got B somewhere down the road.
Somewhere down the road, yeah. That's a bit of there'll be a little bit of a wait on that, but they're gaining on it. Yeah. And which provider did you work with to apply to MCA? Was it Spectrum or Consolidated?
It was Consolidated who, people were concerned, well, we went with the wrong horse. Well, they won 4 out of 5. So
Yeah.
it wasn't the wrong horse. Right?
Yeah.
And we're still talking with them. So.
And was their plan, I am sharing screen, thanks, Don. Was their plan to do the fiber to the home?
Yes.
Yeah,
In the fiber? Yeah.
at every location. But,
We just keep on hoping that you'll be able to apply for some funding.
right, well, Spectrum is proposing the BEAD approach, right? So it's all the unserved.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, a lot of people that are underserved are going to be rather pissed off.
correct. And Spectrum, it's not symmetrical like Fidium's fiber or any fiber. It's so you're going to have a high download and a low upload.
Although at this point, any download and any upload for many people would be way better than what we've got right now.
How many homes are unserved in Dresden?
Well, some of that is up for debate, and that's a big reason why Dresden wants to get involved with the FCC challenge, because I don't think that the numbers that were given to MCA in the last grant were accurate at all.
Got it. Well, I'm sure there'll be more to come on that. So we want to get started? Yeah. All right. Well, again, good evening, everyone. My name is Susan Corbett. I am the Executive Director of the National Digital Equity Center, and we're here today to start the work on creating a digital equity plan for Dresden. Could we just maybe go around the room and do some introductions? And Judy, maybe you can sort of point to people.
Okay, well, I'm Judy Tunkel, and I'm the chair of this committee. And I appreciate everybody being here. Susan?
Susan Lamb, and I was on the prior broadband committee.
Great.
We're in an unserved area.
And I'm, excuse me, I'm Steve Collimer. I am currently served by Spectrum, and I'm interested in helping the town. My background includes some engineering, and I've also served on a number of town committees.
Great, thanks.
I'm Mary Walsh, and I'm a Dresden resident, and I am served by Spectrum, and I'm one of the few people here who gets good service from Spectrum. I'm interested in.
Thanks for that. I'm sure there's lots of other people that are jealous of you.
Yes.
And I'm Rob Lapidus. I'm a Dresden resident, living in an unserved area of the town. New to the committee here and just learning right now, first time meeting.
Wonderful, well, welcome.
And I'm Don Gleason, as you know, I'm a select person, and I also have Spectrum, and I have screaming speed on the download and a dog on the upload.
So I'm in Florida and I have Xfinity and I have a gig network and I had 900 megs down today and 0.35 megs up. So,
Okay.
so my Zoom wasn't working, everything just went completely off, I was off grid, it was terrible, so it's a problem for sure. Anyway, it's so good to have you all here today and thank you for volunteering for this committee. The town of Dresden and the Dresden citizens have put together this digital equity and digital inclusion committee to help write a digital equity plan for its people. And the last time we met, we did a little bit of a brief overview and had a PowerPoint where we talked about all of the components of a digital equity plan. Tonight, we're gonna start the process. It usually takes several months to put together a digital equity plan. There's lots of work in between our meetings. We typically meet about once a month over Zoom. But today what we're going to do is we're going to start off by talking about the demographics of Dresden. And I'm going to go ahead and share screen. And so one of the things that I'd like to do when we're talking about digital equity and inclusion is to understand the people that we're going to be serving and who this plan is for. And so Dresden is in Lincoln County. It's 33.21 square miles. And then we start to take information, and our latest full set of demographic data comes from the 2021 American Community Survey data. There's some variation, as you know, in some of the newer data that's coming out, but it's not going to be that much off from where we start here. And so one of the first things we look at is income. And so the average median income in the town of Dresden is $69,375. It breaks it down by income. So there are 6% have income of less than 10,000, 3% 10 to 14.9, and on up to we reach 100%. 28% of the residents in Dresden have a family median income of 34.9 or less, which is 203 households. So when we're writing our digital equity plan, understanding the affordability issue. So we know on a national level that the number one reason that people do not subscribe to broadband is affordability. And when you're getting Spectrum bills or consolidated and they're high, and you know, especially as you start to bring fiber to the home, the bills tend to be a little bit higher than a DSL connection. Making sure that we have a plan on affordability will matter. Currently, the FCC Affordable Connectivity Program is, you may have heard some scuttlebutt about this in the news and throughout your networks. They're running out of funding in April. There's a couple of bills in Congress. There's a request from the White House to continue funding the Affordable Connectivity Program. But we've been told that we are an FCC outreach grant awardee, and we've been told to start wind down activities from now until April. So, you know, we had the ACP to fall back on, which if you met income eligibility guidelines, it took $30 off of your bill. And that was a big difference for many of our families here in Maine. If we get funded for ACP, we'll continue to promote that to your residents in Dresden. If we don't, we might want to look at some other alternatives to make sure that no one is left behind because of affordability. Affordability also plays into affordable devices. So with the number one reason is that people don't subscribe is affordable broadband. The number two is tied, and it's affordable devices and digital skills training. So we're going to want to address that in our plan. Any questions on the income? Okay, we'll keep right on going. We break it down by age and sex. So you have more females than males in Dresden, and 45% of your residents are 50 years old and older. So as we look at creating a plan, we're going to want to address technology, digital inclusion, digital equity for older adults in Dresden, and ensuring that they have all the resources they need to go online, to participate in telehealth visits, to connect to family and friends abroad, in other areas. And so we'll want to address some of in your plan, we're going to want to address your older residents. Educational attainment, this is based on population 25 or older. 11% do not have a diploma, 45% have a high school diploma or equivalent, 20% have some college, 15% bachelor degree, and 9% a college degree. So we like to look at educational attainment as well. Not surprisingly, Dresden has a majority of people are white with a small percentage of non-white. And there's some poverty guidelines in the American Community Survey data. So there's 717 homes in Dresden. Of that, there are 536 of those homes are family homes, so more than one person in the household. Families earning, so the number of families, I'll skip to this one, the number of families that meet the federal poverty guidelines is 5.4% of those family households. However, the Affordable Connectivity Program provides a subsidy for families that meet 200% of federal poverty guidelines. And 37% of the families in Dresden meet that guideline. So the difference of that is federal poverty guideline, a family of four is $30,000 a year. Family of four, 200% of federal poverty guidelines is $60,000 a year. So families of four right now are eligible for that ACP benefit. And so I like to point out the difference between the two, because we have a lot of families that are over the standard federal poverty guidelines and under the 200% or less, and they are receiving the subsidy here in the state of Maine. Employment, 940 of your residents are employed. The unemployment rate is 4.9%, a little bit over the state average. There are 829 housing units. The median value of houses in Dresden is 173,000. 717 households, 536 family household, married couples homes, 364, and then with children, 80. Single family homes, 172, with children, 91, and non-families, which is households of one at 81. Those are some basic demographics. Does any of this surprise any of you? Have you seen any of these numbers before?
It's kind of chilling to see it in black and white.
Say that again to Judy.
It's kind of chilling to see it in black and white.
I
Because
know,
you
it
don't
is.
notice it when you're driving down the roads.
Well, and you know what, and I've done this many times across in communities across the state. The average resident in a community doesn't really know the demographics of the community, right? It's those that are working in economic development or writing grants, but it's not common knowledge. I mean, it is because it's out there and for the public to see, but most people don't really, in the places that they live, they may not know what the makeup of their demographic is. it makes a difference when you're writing digital equity plans of making sure that because one of the goals of the digital equity plan is to close the digital divide and not leave anyone behind. We want to make sure that we're targeting those that need us the most. So
Right.
one of the newer data points that American Community Survey has been tracking is the number of homes with computer and broadband. So of the 717 homes, 616 have a computer. 3 are still using dial-up connection. 554 have a broadband connection. 54 do not have a broadband connection, and 106 do not have computers. The number that I want to come back to is at 554. So I made a huge mistake when I was doing a presentation for a county, and I had county commissioners in the room. And when I said, when I showed them the number, which was similar to this, they said, oh, then we don't have a problem. But what I didn't say, and I do say now, is just because it's a broadband connection doesn't mean it's good. Right? So I think it's something that you have to consider when we're looking at these statistics that doesn't really tell the real story of the broadband situation in a community. It breaks it down by household. So we can see that of the 599, I'm not sure where that number's not wrong. There are 42 that have income of less than 10,000 that have a computer. 6 that have a broadband subscription and 36 without it, not surprising there. You can start to see it start to shift in the 10 to 19,000 and then the 20 to 34,900 and on and on. Not surprising as we get up into the 35 and older over, there's less that have no broadband subscription. The this is broken down by population. So this is under 18 years old. And this all shifted post-pandemic because we started to see students that had computers. What this doesn't tell us is if the computers are owned by the student or whether they're owned by the school and the student is just using it. And then we start to break it down 18 to 64, how many with a computer, with a broadband subscription, without a subscription. And then you start to see it a little bit higher with 65 and older of people without a broadband subscription or without computers. So, you see it doesn't quite break it down between that 18 and 64, but you definitely see a difference in the 65 and older. So those numbers, they're a snapshot in time. I just like to show you that this is what the American Community Survey is tracking. The other thing that it's not tracking, so pre-pandemic wasn't unusual to have one device in a household. Post-pandemic, one device was not enough. And so now we see multiple devices in a household and that are needed in a household because, mom or dad might be remotely working. There's children in the home that may or may not have a computer from their school or they own one themselves. So we're seeing more of the multiple devices in a household because we're those that do have devices are on much more. Any questions or thoughts around any of this?
Our school board people, when they come to the select board meetings and they talk about, school was canceled because of one thing or another. In the other towns that our RSU is affiliated with, the students can study from home. They can do the remote learning. And children in Dresden, just by and large, can't do the remote learning.
Because of the lack of broadband?
Because of the lack of broadband, because of the lack of devices, because just the lack of knowledge on how to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do the students in Dresden, are they a certain age before they can get a device, and can they bring the device home?
Don't, you know the answer to that?
Yeah.
No,
What was that?
that's a good question. I will try to get an answer to that.
Some kids got devices, they got hotspots, but it's very few.
Yeah.
So in reality, they went back to paper, right? So.
Yeah.
Whatever the storm kit is, teachers send home paperwork because most of the kids can't log in.
Oh, and is that counted towards a school day if they do their paperwork at home?
I believe so, but it was a tough sell, right?
Yeah, there was one or two of the mid-coast school districts that are doing remote school when there's a snow day. And is counting towards it, so that's not, they don't have to, the snow day is not counting against them because they're doing some remote school. But you have to
That
have.
works, that works for the other towns in RSU, but it doesn't work for Dresden.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see in the school, what the policy is around devices, under, then Governor King and the one-to-one initiative, with students starting in the 7th grade, they started to get a device, and that's pretty much continued through most of Maine. Although the devices have changed. It used to be, Macs, and now there are a variety of different devices that they have. And then during the pandemic, there was an infusion of money that came in through ARPA funds that bought a lot of devices for schools. Not all spent them that way, but it'd be interesting to see, is there a device? Is there still a device for every student, and in what ages?
Okay,
Any other thoughts on the demographics?
Susan, can we get copies of what you've shown here? Because we can't read what you.
Yes, I'm happy to do that. So I was just going to tell you that I'll forward this to Judy and Dawn, and they can send it to the team. And then because you have to sort of digest it. This is a lot of data that's being thrown at you. So, it just sort of I give you a high view, and then you can sort of dig into some of this other data. Great.
Yeah, the data's interesting because I did the emergency operations plan for the town, but I use city data.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just off a few thousand here and there and a couple of numbers, but they are pretty much consistent.
Yeah. So now we start to dig in because we're still trying to gather information for this plan. So in the demographics, there are some questions that I thought we would talk about tonight. And one of the questions is there a list of businesses in Dresden?
There is one that's available.
Great. Do you think that you could send that to me?
Sure, I'll go get it tomorrow.
Awesome. And one of the reasons that we want to know about that is that one of the focuses in this plan might be on focusing on some of the business community and providing digital skills classes and some of the workforce development training. All right. And then locally, there's a library in Dresden.
it has 3 computers,
Say that again, Judy?
3 computers.
3 computers at the library. All right. And do they have any lending devices, hotspots, or iPads or laptops that they lend out?
No.
Okay. No lending. And are there any adult learning centers, or do you have to go to another town for that?
We have to go to another town.
Which adult ed do you use? Do you know?
Gardner,
Gardner and Wisconsin.
Gardner and which other one, Don?
Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. All right. And are there any community centers?
No,
In Richmond.
not in Dresden, no.
No community centers, okay.
Which has been one of the challenges on the, the community institutions. That they don't exist. There are some funds, such as the Kenyon Fund, but there's no established, clubhouses, if you will, or senior homes, or assisted living, or any of that, so.
And currently, what building are you in right now?
Borough Hall. It's next to our fire station.
And so it's nice it looks like nice meeting space.
This,
Could be nicer if we did the connectivity of, but
right.
And how's your broadband connection there?
We're using my phone.
because the broadband connection didn't exist.
Oh, my part. Well, I think it's great that you're able to do this. Okay. Is the library the only place that public computers are available?
Yes,
Yes, and it has limited hours,
There's one where?
very limited hours.
Okay. And how about public Wi-Fi? Is there any public Wi-Fi anywhere?
Two places. The Bridge Academy Public Library, they have inside and outside. And
Yeah.
Dresden Elementary, which also has inside and outside. They were funded under the Maine Library System Grant. Other than that, there's nothing.
And what's the second one? Dresden,
Elementary school.
elementary school. So the main school and library network is about 95% fiber, and it is funded through the E-rate program. And if you have a landline phone, you'll see a little line for Maine tax as well. And Maine was one of the first states in the country that had built out fiber or contracted to build out fiber to all of the schools and libraries in the state of Maine. And they all have at least 100 meg symmetrical connection, which is really pretty good. So that's why, it's one of there's lots of reasons why we love libraries, but that's one of the great ones is because they're great community centers. There's places where people can go and get online if they don't, especially if they don't have a good broadband connection at home. I've known people who needed, Windows updates on their laptops, and they go to the library to do the updates because the Wi-Fi is better than it is at home. Okay, and I know that Marita presented when she met with you in, I think, November. Did you decide whether there was some place where digital skills classes could be held?
well, the very limited opportunities of the library. And that's something that, the library representative couldn't be here tonight. But that's something that we're trying to explore. How much does the library, how much responsibility can we expect from the library to help the town out with the digital equity, with the broadband, with the training?
Okay. All right. There are some digital navigators and there's more and more that we're adding in across the state. And so where we can, we have a digital navigator fill the role of facilitator at a location. If the local facility does not have the capacity to provide a facilitator. So no, just keep that in mind. So when you're talking to the crew at NDEC, if that's one of the barriers, let them know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
the Damerscott Library has offered their facility for Dresden people.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're happy to chat with them at any time.
Okay.
Okay. So the next question is it's really all about you and it's all about your town and what you're hoping, what is it that's important to you when you think about digital equity and the residents of Dresden? What is it that you're hoping to achieve with this plan? And throw out any ideas or thoughts on this one.
I feel like, you know, the elderly and the school children, and even college students are the two areas that we need to put the most energy into.
And from an economic development standpoint, we are crippled or hampered by not having adequate connectivity for businesses to do things that they could normally do in other places, whether it's online sales or supply chain or anything like that. They just don't have the connectivity. And I know down the road, literally a mile from here, is a farm stand that they were DSL. And then they went with something else. Now they're with Starlink, but it's still pretty pathetic. And it's really, in their opinion, hampering their business. I hope that the inventory of businesses will be able to ascertain those that aren't online versus a physical, but we'll see.
And so this is Steve. I think one other thing that we should make sure is kind of a high priority is as we get older and older, which is a lot of people around here now, is that the computers are being used for online, you know, health checkups and communication and check-ins to see how the patient is doing. And that is, it seems to me, is getting to be a more likely necessity here.
And I think it's important when we're talking about groups, especially those older adults who are not used to using devices, and also people with disabilities and has hearing disabilities or vision or whatever, that there be some support for them. I know myself, if I try to get tech support online or by talking to someone on the phone, it ends up being garbage.
They
as
make
far
you
as
feel,
I'm
they make
concerned.
you feel pretty stupid.
Because
Just
they know
speaking for
things-
myself.
Yeah, they know it so well, and I don't know it at all. And you magnify that if you're older and not used to working on computers. So I think that the support is really essential if we're going to be successful in this effort.
Excellent.
And I think the ability, just being able to have the ability to take an online class and whatever without constant buffering, or be able to stream movies, or is something a lot of people can't do now.
There's a couple of different things I just wanted to comment on the older adults and online telehealth, health checkups. You know, for many people, they're learning this for the first time, right? And even if they have a computer at home, you know, does the camera work? Does the audio work? You know, and then they get flustered because they now have the doctor in front of them. And so making sure that they have the tools and they're confident in doing that telehealth visit. So, you know, there's ways that we can support our older adults. We also have the National Digital Equity Center. One of its curricula is on aging well with technology, and they have classes that are geared for folks 55 and older. And the classes include protecting your online presence. So somebody going online for the first time, they're not sure what they're doing and what they're clicking, and, we all get flustered around that kind of stuff. And so making sure that they're safe when they're online, that they've created good passwords to protect themselves, identifying and preventing fraud and abuse. And then there are apps to monitor their healthcare. So monitor their diet or their weight or their blood pressures or their medicines. And all those things can be really helpful and fun for someone older learning learning technology for the first time. So there are some things that we can do pretty quickly with some of your older adults to get them online. Having a connection, a good internet connection, obviously is going to be vital though. So, I think your quest to continue to make sure that no one's left behind with lack of broadband is an important, this is important, but getting everyone a connection is certainly just as important, if not more.
So Susan, if I wanted to have the technology to check on my health through my internet service, can I do that with a regular cable network, or do I need something faster and more direct, like fiber optic?
No, you can do it with a DSL connection.
Yeah.
Sure. The times that it can get hard is in, so if you think of Zoom, it's upload and download at the same time. I'm talking, therefore I'm uploading my image and my voice to the internet. And then when I'm listening to you, it's downloading those. And so if you have a 7/1 DSL connection, it's going to be hard to do a Zoom call, but you might be able to do some, monitor, download some apps and monitor your healthcare. But for video conferencing, you certainly don't need to have a fiber connection, but you probably need to have something better than a 7/1 DSL connection.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there are folks that have some type of tablets, iPad or Kindles or any of the smart tablets. They may not have an internet connection at home, but they could go to the library and they could download apps. They could, do the bulk of their downloading at the library and then go home and use those apps at home. The same thing, like one of the classes that we have, and our older adults really love it, and we did a lot of the classes during pandemic, is library services. So we teach people how to download books from their library, which they really like to do. One other thing that we had older adults doing, we were working with a healthcare, one of the hospitals in Maine, and during pandemic, and they got devices that they got into the hands of older adults, and they were doing exercise classes online, which was really fun. So to your point about doing crafts and other things, if one thing we found with the pandemic was that there was lots of things that people could do to connect online and fill up a lot of the isolation and loneliness that was happening. Great. And I think we've addressed, are there target populations that you want to reach? And, what I'm hearing is for sure older adults, the school children, college students that might be working as doing work from home, attending classes from home. So we can make sure that when we build a plan, we can look at some special projects for your older adults. I've got lots of examples of those that have been done in different areas. So we can sort of dig into all of that as well. Anything else that I should know about as you're thinking about your digital equity plan?
I think there are a lot of older people in town who maybe don't have cable, but use their cell phone for a lot of things. And they don't really have any idea how much broader their, internet access could be. You know, they do the things that they just know how to do right now, but really can't even envision all the opportunities that are available.
So are you saying that they do have some smartphones and they don't know, they're not sure what to do with them?
Yes,
Yeah, okay, so we do also have some classes on iPhones and on Android phones. So one of the things too is, you know, and if, especially if we're focusing on older adults, you know, to bring a group together and, you know, we can sort of talk it up, right? Like, you want to learn how to use your phone, your smartphone, you know, let's meet at the library and we'll do a class on that. Because then, you know, they start to, there's that level of trust that starts, right? That they had fun, right? That's the other thing. We want everybody to have fun at these classes and come back for more. Most of our students take it, if they take one class, they almost always take an additional 3 or 4 classes. And it's because of that level of comfort that they, you know, that they didn't feel dumb taking that class, right? Because people are afraid and they're, you know, they don't want anybody to think that they don't know when we're all in the same boat and we're all learning and continue to learn.
So you're saying that the classes create a community amongst themselves?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, during pandemic, of course, we couldn't be in physical space together, but we had instructors that we called them groupies, right? That they had students who loved them so much, they took every single class that they taught. But what it did is it built that community among all these students who got to know each other. And they kept themselves busy and active during the pandemic. And so, you know, that, you know, I love that. Even though there's not a pandemic, there are it's Maine and it's winter, right? And people are shut in and it's hard to drive and it's dark at 4 o'clock and all of those things. And so, you know, if you can open up an older person's world by doing these classes and letting them, you know, just have some fun doing it, I think it's just really rewarding.
I could take a few of those classes, probably a little lot.
yeah.
You know, I had a friend who was doing crochet lessons. She had a group of people, this is during pandemic, she was doing crochet lessons. I had a group that we were doing wine dates, which was also pretty cool. Anything else that you're thinking about or haven't even thought about it until tonight of what we should be including in that digital equity plan?
Workforce development is an important topic. We were talking about just using devices, but device with a purpose, right? Which is, how do I write a resume? How do I do a cover letter? How do I pursue jobs online, even if they are in the next town? So some of that workforce development stuff may be something we should address. And I don't know what classes you have in your kitty on that topic, but
yeah, one of the curricula is on work in business. So there are all of the Microsoft classes, how to build a website for small businesses, how to manage social media. So there's several different classes. We can also, for businesses, you know, especially if we can get a group together, we can hold the class can be held at their location and we bring the instructor in over Zoom. So that's the other, you know, that's another option for any of the businesses that might want to gather, either if they don't have enough staff, they might want to bring a group together and then focus on those workforce development. We also have digital skills assessments. We do that with a lot of businesses of helping to determine what someone's skill level is so that then we can create an individual learning plan and come up with a plan of what is it that what does the business owner need of their staff to learn, and then create the plan, the learning plan around it. So that's one of the other things we do with a lot of businesses here in the state.
I have a neighbor who's in her late twenties and she's applied for a number of online jobs. But she can't get hired because there's no internet to support her working from home. So it's hard, it's hard to talk about digital equity when you don't even have the opportunity to get a job online.
It's true. Unum, the big insurance company down in Portland, at one point was offering remote jobs for $30 an hour. And some of the island communities that had gotten better broadband were applying for those jobs. And, it was it made a difference of survival on the islands, right? Because there's only so many, full-time jobs available there. But it was $30 an hour to start, which was pretty darn good starting pay. In all remote jobs. The same thing is, the remote worker in the business world right now. Businesses that are saying you need to come to the office Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, are losing staff to remote positions because people got very used to being remote and having a better work-life balance and not having to commute for hours a day. And so there's been a shift in the business model of bigger businesses closing out some of their office space in favor of a blend of in-house and remote workers. So I think we're going to just see more of that.
Yeah, this is really helpful for me to, listen to you talk about a much broader idea of things that we can get involved in than I can even imagine. So I'm hoping that this moves us all forward.
So one of the next steps is I'm going to start to put together the framework of the digital equity plan so that you can see what it starts to look like. And then we'll start to, sort of zero in on some of the projects that we might want to do. Along with that, as we build projects, we're also going to build a budget. So we know what's it going to cost to do this. If we do, let's just say you do an affordable device program, well, who do you want to target? How many devices do we need to budget for? So we'll work on, the budget will come, as we're developing the plan, the budget will also be starting to be developed. And so know that that's coming. Along with the next time we meet, which will be in about another month, I'll have a draft plan for you to start to look at, and then we'll start to build off of that.
Good.
Good?
Good.
Sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Great. And Judy, maybe you and I can be in touch on looking at another date in a month or so, if that works for you.
I'm thinking Monday seems to be a pretty free time for the use of this building. And if we're a smaller group, we can even use the library. And the fourth Monday, I think would be a time that we could be using either this place or the library, to be meeting. The library, we don't have to use my phone.
What are you saying?
1, 2, 3, 4. So that brings us up to February 26th.
Right.
Let me just put that tentatively on my schedule.
Okay, yes, please.
Okay. And I'm going to send this spreadsheet to you with all the demographic data. And Judy, if you want to CC me when you forward it to the group, at any time, any of you can reach out to me with any of your ideas or thoughts or whatever, so don't hesitate to do that, but you'll have my contact information.
Okay, good. All right, well, we're gonna try and get a few more of our original group here next time.
Great.
And appreciate you helping us out with this.
No worries at all, and I look forward to seeing you at the end of February, and I hope the rest of the winter goes nice and smooth.
As long as we get snow, it'll be smooth.
All right, thank you all very, very much. This was really, really helpful, so I appreciate that. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.